Hey, you guys, thank you for joining this gang today. We are coming at you with the fourfold formula for all things wellness. This happens to be chat number 3. If you have not seen chat number 1 and chat number 2, go ahead and find those on social media platforms. And what are we doing? We're talking about our stories. We have over 30 authors. We have 30 authors. We have 7 media partners, big guys, that are also writing stories. So you're going to be able to, in this compilation book, multi-author compilation book, you're going to be able to hear true stories, true authentic stories from 36-ish people. And you're hopefully going to connect to them. You're going to learn something from them. You're going to probably cry. You're going to probably laugh like Markus and I did. This is my co-author here, Dr. Markus Wettstein, in the room. We've got Alysia Lyons over here, one of the authors. And what we're doing with these chats is just kind of a little bit of a teaser for you so you can get a taste, a little nugget of what we're sharing with you. And this is chat number 3. How are you guys doing? How are you doing, Markus? What are your thoughts?
Very well, thank you. I'm going to be looking forward. What I selected out was not a very big splash kind of portion, but it tells you a little bit about my transition sort of thing. So. Yeah. Forward to it.
Yeah, we've got 4 chapters in the book, and there it is: heart, spirit, mind, and body. And the main thing that we really strongly feel with that is the way we've laid the book out is there's about 24 areas in your life, and you know, you've got to look at your creativity and organization. It's not just nutrition and exercise. It's all about relationships and coping skills. And so we have that all laid out in the book, and we describe it pretty darn well. And then we've plunked all these stories in there because everybody has a story. All right. How are you today, Alysia?
I'm doing good. Okay. Well, hoping there's not going to be lots of background noise or a kid popping up in the video, yeah. But he's cute. So if he pops up, you won't mind.
No, shit happens, right? It just happens. We roll with the punches. That's a good thing about this book. We're just real deal people. And we all have gotten to know each other. We have a private Facebook site together, and Markus and I felt it was really important. If you've seen the videos or heard us talk before, it was really important for us to create relationships and collaborations and a sense of community, especially coming off of COVID. I think a lot of us were stuck home a little bit. We didn't know what to do. Those of us who've been in corporate America before, we're used to getting in our car and going and talking by the water cooler and getting some of this crap out in our life and kind of not bearing the burden of all of it. And then we got stuck home with COVID and our mental health, or our health in general, right? Eating Doritos and whatever the heck else happened. We kind of became more introverted or inclusive. And now I think that's why it's really important with this book, is we wanted to get close together and we want to share our stories with the world. So I picked a section of the book. Markus and I are also writing parts in the book. We have several stories in there, and I pulled a little chunk out of one of my stories that I will kick this little party off. So here's my 250-ish words. All right. One Army wife conversation that sticks out in my mind. It was with a German gal. She was married to a US soldier. We already knew each other because our sons slithered down hot steel slides in the park hundreds of times every day. She spoke broken English, but we understood each other. She was elated about the upcoming demolition of the wall. The thought of families reuniting after decades of separation made her especially nostalgic. She became almost childlike when she spoke of young adults experiencing the freedom of the West. Another memory that sticks out for me is really emotional to this minute, and it happened after the wall was blown to bits. I ran into an Eastern German mother at a gas station, and I mean, I literally ran into her. I can still see the fear in her eyes. It was only days since she had crossed over the border, and her family was crammed into this tiny jalopy with clothes shoved into baskets, many of which were still hanging out of the windows. She told me that they grabbed what they could and they raced down the Autobahn until they nearly ran out of gas. You could see the fear in her eyes, fear of the newfound freedom, that it was just a dream, fear that someone would still come get them. If I were to describe her glistening eyes, it would be euphoric paranoia. Here is a woman ecstatically seeking freedom, yet so engulfed in horror, worried that the devil lurked right around the corner, ready to whisk them all straight back to hell. And it's been 33 years since I held those two conversations. How fun is that?
That's incredible. I have like so many more questions. Like, I don't know so much about the Berlin Wall falling. Like, it just, I don't even know if that's what it's called now.
Girlfriend, this is the truth. Now, Markus and I met in 2009 in the United States in Colorado, and I was running his medical office clinics. That's how we first met, and we're fast friends and like brother and sister. But he's German, and I actually spent 4 years over there. And in '89, when the Berlin Wall came down, that's a real story. So I'm anxious to share the whole spiel with you. Okay, Alysia, let's hear a little bit about one of your stories.
All right. So most of my memories recall my dad's love for laughter. He repeated the same jokes over and over. But the day he passed, the majority of the stories I shared with me were about how angry he was. And I'm left trying to dissect the disparity of this apparent Jekyll and Hyde. How do these two men meld together? I genuinely believe my dad used humor to distract from deep-seated negative emotions, so many other people knew he was suppressing. Laughter is also how I deal with my discomfort at others' emotions. Whenever my son is in a bad mood, I desperately try to make him laugh, which sometimes works, but other times he lashes out at me. His anger triggers my anger, and it's all downhill from there. In my podcast, I frequently discuss the silent cycles passed from generation to generation. Some cycles are easier to spot and hopefully change. Physical and emotional abuse, alcoholism, and drug addiction are typically the ones that we recognize and say, I will not be an alcoholic like my mother. But the silent cycles are so much less obvious, and we can't change things that we're not aware of.
You know, Markus and I have the pleasure to hold these stories in our hands, and it's such an honor because, you know, I play with them first, and then Markus gets to look at them. And, you know, Alysia, what you're going to love as one of the contributing authors when you look at this, because what's cool about this, you know, I've been part of a compilation book before, and I know you guys have heard me say this, but I've sat in the interviews where I've looked at the other person and gone, oh, hey, nice to meet you, Sally. Like I'm in the interview and the person's in the book with me and I don't even know them. What's going to be really cool is that they're going to see the name and kind of know about you and then hear your story. And it's almost like the backwards, as opposed to me reading your story and going, oh, hi, Alysia. You know, you learn to kind of it's kind of a get to know each other first and then hear the story rather than the other way around. Hey, Markus, what are your thoughts? What did you think about Alicia's story? I know we can't share too much, but we do learn from our parents, don't we?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, there is a lot of information in there and a lot of stories that resonate, you know. I mean, we can take a lot of what we read and attach it to our own experience to a degree, and that is what I think is going to wake up sort of a willingness to look at this from a different perspective, because you're reading it from a different perspective, you know, and that kind of lends itself to, in my case, in a lot of instances, to healing. You know, you're going to look at this from a different perspective and say, aha, I don't have to cramp up over this for the rest of my life. I can just look at this, there it is. I can let it go. They're just the same. And that's what I appreciate and enjoy about having all these different authors giving different perspectives.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Do you want to share something of your story, one of your stories?
Well, yeah, I will jump right into it, and that's just a little bit of an explanation. Then I began noticing my stomach aches being prompted by other triggers. Witnessing my parents argue would set off abdominal cramping. Watching a horror movie would do the same. The list of triggers only grew over the years. Heart racing joined in. I became more and more stress sensitive. Isolating myself from social interactions was one of my major defenses. Luckily, despite all this counterproductive stress, I developed a liking for the field of natural science and medicine in particular. As my interest and drive increased, I was able to shift my focus away from the rather unhelpful stress-generating childhood programs. As I increased my knowledge and skills in the field of medicine, the frequency and intensity of stress-generated thoughts and activities decreased. Then I learned that my mother was diagnosed with diabetes. So I decided to study the disease in detail. I became an endocrinologist focusing on hormone-related conditions, including diabetes, thyroid disease, and adrenal gland disorders, to name only a few. During my detailed study of the adrenal gland, it became clear that this organ was responsible for hormone production as a result of stress. And this is where my quest really started, to focus in on stress-related changes in people's lives. And it really got under my skin, and I managed to sort of make that manageable over the years. That's a little later.
Yeah, that's to change your health condition, your mindset, your spiritual path, everything. Well, there's the teaser for today. There's the teaser for today. And our hope and dream here, as we put all this together, we are on the home stretch and we're hoping for a summer release of this book. This is going to be volume 1 of 3. If anybody listening has any questions out there, you can reach out to me at peggy@allthingswellness.com. You can also hop on to my website at Peggy Willms, and that's 2 L's, WILLMS.com. With a / you can put in author and you can find out more about this book. And in the future, we'll have all of the biographies and fun stuff about our authors. There are a million brilliant minds that are part of this book. So thank you, Alysia, mom support coach, for being with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, there'll be many more interviews of all the authors. Today was a teaser, and Markus, my friend, until we meet again. Goodbye, you guys.
Goodbye. Thank you.